we respect your privacy. The Coronavirus Task Force is formerly known as Policy and Legislative Committee. What we will be covering during this presentation is a pandemic impact on foster youth, former foster youth, and non-minor dependents, who are people in the foster care system after 18, access to housing and related services, transitioning into virtual educational settings, and then CUIC's hashtag Lifetime of Stability campaign for Assembly Bill 89 and Senate Bill 912, and then the California Governor's Executive Order and funding implementation. Thank you. And then I'll hand it off to my fellow facilitator, Chris, for the next slide.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Chris. I'm going to be one of your co-facilitators. So I wanted to give you guys a brief description on the COVID-19 task force. And the COVID-19 task force is a California Youth Connection based advocacy group that collaborates with current and former foster youth to inform decision makers and voice the needs and demands of youth in California's foster care system impacted by COVID-19.
If we can go to the next slide. Or,
So does anybody know the CYC's mission and vision statement? And if so, could you guys state it out?
welcome to all the new members. Right now we're discussing the mission and vision of the of California Youth Connection, and we just discussed the discussion of Coronavirus Task Force.
So the CYC mission statement is to develop leaders who empower each other and their communities to transform the foster care system through legislative and policy practice change. Our vision is that all foster youth will be equal partners in contribution to all policies and decisions made in their lives. All in foster care will have their needs met and the support to grow into healthy and vibrant adults.
This next slide is about the icebreaker. And so I would like to introduce myself. Hello, everyone. My name is Amal Amora. In the Summer Leadership Planning, in the Summer Leadership and Policy Conference, I'm part of the Summer Leadership and Policy Conference Planning Committee, as well as the Coronavirus Task Force. I also facilitated the Healing Circle, and now I'm facilitating this with my fellow facilitators, Chris, and my curriculum developers and staff support, Gali and Janae. And in terms of something that's interesting about me, so I'm in Humboldt County. My pronouns are she, her, hers. And I am in university right now, currently transferring. And I look forward to getting to know all of you. If I was an animal, what animal would I be? I would be a manatee. They're also known as the sea cows. They're gentle giants of the sea. They're pretty big, and they're herbivores, which is definitely a plus. And I'll popcorn this to my fellow facilitator, Chris.
Hello, my name is Chris. I'm from the current chapter, and my pronouns is she, her, and hers. If I were an animal, I think I would probably be a panda. Only because they're sweet and cuddly. And I'll popcorn it to, let's see, Clarissa.
Hello. So my name is Clarissa. My pronouns are she, her, and hers, and I'm from the LA County area. If I were an animal, this is a tough one because there's so many animals I think I'd want to be, but I would probably want to be a lion because they're pretty, like, I think strong and like, well, when I imagine a lion, I think of it as like a strong and like prideful animal. So I'm kind of proud of who I am. I think I'll pass it over to Kate.
My name is Kate, and I use she, her pronouns, and I'm also in the LA area. And shout out to all those Leos out there coming into their own this month. And if I were an animal, I think I would be a flamingo today. And preferably one of the pink flamingos. I don't know. I think it's because it's hot, and I love the idea of standing around in a pond today, eating all day. And I will go to Savannah.
Hi everyone, I'm Savannah. I use she, her, hers pronouns. I'm from the LA region as well. If I were to be an animal, I would be a giraffe. They're cute and they're like my favorite animal, and they're so tall, and I'm like really short, so I'd be a giraffe. And I will popcorn to Natasha.
Hello everyone, my name is Natasha Sosa. I go by the pronouns she, her. I'm from the Long Beach chapter, and if I were an animal, I would be a wolf because I think they're super cool. And also, I like how they travel in packs because I'm really close with my siblings as well. And I'm gonna popcorn it over to Kenny.
Hello, how's everyone going? The button didn't want to push for me. I'm in the LA area, and if I had to be a lion, I think I like roaming with packs too. So I'm gonna be a wolf with Natasha. So King Wolf, here we come. And I'm gonna popcorn it to Janae, because I don't know who went.
Hey everyone. Let's see. My name is Janae, pronouns she, her, and hers. And if I could be an animal, I'm really feeling the whole pack idea. Plus, I was really into, now I was so excited to tell y'all I can't even remember the movie. But anyway, I will just say coyote to be a little different, because coyotes also like to roam in packs. And then they're kind of like residential, like they're kind of around, they're not too far out. So it's like, I like being around in different places. I like being in a pack. So, I'm gonna go with coyote today. And I will popcorn to Christina. Or Chris, sorry, Chris. You already went.
I already
Sorry.
went.
You're right, you already went. Okay, Galilea.
Hello everyone, my name is Galilea. I was a part of curriculum development for this amazing workshop. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I am currently in the LA area. If I was an animal, I think I'd be like a kangaroo, just because I was at the store earlier and like I couldn't reach the top shelf, and I just don't like the fact that someone has to come and like get it for me. Like, a kangaroo could just jump up there, get the bacon, get the cereal, super easy. So I'd be a kangaroo. And I'll popcorn it to Michaela.
Hey everyone, my name is Michaela. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm a community advocacy coordinator, and then so I was gonna say that I would be a wolf, but everybody stole my answer. So I'll show you who I'm. He just growled at me, but I would be Bruno, because he just has such a solid life. Like, his mom's cool, he has a cool apartment, he eats and sleeps all day, he's like living his best life. So I would be Bruno, for sure. And then I'll popcorn it over to, let's see, Maribee.
Hello, my name is Maribee. I use she, her, hers pronouns, and I am repping the Sacramento Davis area, but I used to rep Coco, Contra Costa, so I'm gonna do both up in this piece today. And now my animal that I think I'd probably be, I'm kind of torn because I want to be a dolphin because they are nurturers and they're, you know, they can get out of stuff. But then I despise this other animal, but it survives, right? And that's the orca. I hate the orca with a passion because it's so mean to the mama whales. But like, you ain't gonna just walk over that orca though. So there you go. I'm gonna pass it on to, did Josh go yet?
I
No.
don't believe so.
Nope. Perfect.
What's up, everybody? My name is Josh. My pronouns are he, him, his. I'm repping Antelope Valley chapter. And if I could be any animal, I would be a panda because ever since I was a child, that was my favorite animal. And I always feel like it's the most interesting looking animal out there. And I'll pass it to Quajay.
Hey everyone, my name is Quajay. Feel free to call me Jay. Pronoun she, they. Chapter and location. Well, I'm in Alameda right now. Still repping that SF life. If I was an animal, I love giraffes, but I don't think that'll be a convenient or not even convenient, but like representative of my personality. I think what's fearless? A fearless animal. I say like a honey badger. They're pretty badass. They're probably one of the most fearless animals to ever exist. And I would be that. Who am I passing it to? Let's pass it to Derek. Derek.
My name is Derek, Alameda chapter. What was the question? Oh, if I was an animal, I would probably pick a. I had in my head just a second. Oh no, I'll probably pick an ape. Like I feel like ape. Like after watching Planet of the Apes, I don't know why. I just want to be an ape. So y'all can hear me, right?
Yes. Anyone you want to popcorn it to, Derek?
I don't ever know who already went or not.
Did Tashiana go? If I didn't mispronounce your name.
Go ahead.
Hi everyone, I'm Tashiana. I'm from the Coco chapter. My pronouns is she, her, and hers. And the animal that I would be a grizzly bear because when they're really cute when they're babies too, you would barely, like those animals are really protective when it comes down to their own cubs. And it's like you will see a bear on the California flag.
We also have Kailani, if I didn't mispronounce your name, I apologize, who joined the call. Also, if you recently joined, please rename your name with your, on Zoom, with your pronouns, and then your chapter location or region location.
It might be good to give the person who just joined a minute, but MB, you want to go?
Yes, I'll go. My name is Malia Bibialaka. That's what MB stands for, and I'm in the Los Angeles chapter, South LA, and my pronouns are she, hers, and her. And if I was an animal, I would probably be a dolphin because of how majestic and how sweet, how magical they are, how beautiful they are.
You can go ahead and popcorn it to somebody else.
Okay. I'm gonna popcorn to Did Monica, did you go?
Hi, everybody. Thank you for popcorning me in. I go by she and her, and I'm representing Alameda County. If I were to be an animal, I think I would keep it pretty simple. I'm a Leo by nature. I feel like I have a lot of those Leo the lion traits. If you go to a zoo, a lot of times you'll see them. Sometimes you won't see them at all. They come out and they kind of check, their surroundings out kind of slowly, kind of protective of their territory. And then once they see everything is okay, they'll go back in, or if things need to be adjusted, then they'll do what they do. And then they'll kind of quietly go back into their little space and rest, kind of with one eye open though. And I think that represents how I am very much. So I think I'd be a lion for sure.
Thank you.
I can popcorn it over to, gosh, I'm not sure who hasn't gone. I came in one eye open, yes.
I believe everyone went.
I have yet to go.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. Perfect.
Hi, I'm Cesar Sosa. I am at the Long Beach chapter, and the animal I think I rep with would be a panda, like Josh. They're just so cute, cuddly, and no one messes with them.
It's okay. Liam hasn't gone as well.
I'll popcorn it to Liam then.
Oh, hi. I'm Liam. I'm from Shasta chapter. My pronouns are he, him, and if I had to be an animal, definitely a raccoon. Definitely a raccoon. 'Cause they can just eat a lot, just chill. And I'll popcorn it to Jesus if he's listening.
I'm Jesus, Fresno chapter, Central Valley, and I'll pick up Panther.
Did everyone go?
I believe just Kaylani. If
I saw that Kaylani left. I don't see
It looks
her.
like Kaylani actually dropped off, so if she comes back, we'll capture her in. But I think at this point, everybody's gone.
No worries. Thank you everyone for completing. Thank you everyone for completing the icebreaker. Next, I wanted to talk about the community agreements. So the first community agreement we have is one mic, which is generally speaking. If you're not talking, please mute your microphone. It takes away the background noise, as well as that if someone's talking, try to not interrupt, even though we're not all perfect at that, including myself. So just generally speaking with that, it's about respect. Remember the Vegas rules, so confidentiality in terms of whatever happens here stays here unless you're gonna learn from it. Just to keep everyone comfortable, making sure that we're accommodating each other. So if someone shares something and it might not be your experience, don't jump to conclusions by like judging them or invalidating them. Just be active listeners, so listen, not to respond, but just listen to just be a good human to another person. We wanted to stress that we're gonna try to make this a safe space as possible, so hate-free zone, and we'll be inclusive. We also wanted to ask all of you guys if you guys like these rules, and if you had any suggestions that we can add to these rules. If you like these rules, put a thumbs up. If you don't, or if you want to change something, put a thumbs down. Or yeah, so this will be your moment to respond. Also, if you have access to the participants list, you can put yes if you like the rules, no if you don't. If you have any suggestions for more rules, not rules, like just community agreements. Tashiana added don't yuck my yum. Yeah, that's very important. I'm gonna actually type that in. This is just, I might not explain it the best way, but yeah, there you go. It's just about if someone's having a good day or someone just is saying something that's happy, don't try to belittle them for it or say, oh, well, I'm having this thing not going well. So just be happy when everyone's happy, when like someone's happy, and just when someone's sad, support them. If someone wanted to add to that rule, any of my facilitators, that'd be great.
I think this is good. I don't have one.
Okay, for sure. So next slide, I'd pass it on to my fellow facilitator, Chris. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. So our COVID-19 COVID-19 task force is, so what we did was we came up with a survey, and 141 current and former foster youth responded to this survey. But this survey is, the goal is to capture and elevate the voice of youth ages 18 to 24 that are impacted by the COVID-19. As we all know, a lot of our youth, a lot of our former foster youth and our current foster youth have been impacted in one way of losing housing or losing their education, or some sort of crisis happened to them. And so what we did is we did a survey, and 141 youth have participated in the survey. 21 responses, 21% of those out of the 141 said that they had to move as a result of COVID-19. 26 responses, which is 25% of that, is they had to drop out or withdraw from a class course due to this pandemic. And 30 responses, which is 29% of that, have an unmet dental health need. So basically, during this crisis, what this survey says that a lot of youth are facing as a result of this pandemic is loss of housing, loss of education, and loss of health. And that goes into our foster stability campaign. But sorry.
You're doing awesome.
Yes, you're right. Some counties do have a lot of dental that take Medi-Cal, but not a lot of, from what I was reading, not a lot of youth can access that. We can go on to the next slide. So one of the things that we're going to be talking about is transitioning back into education. I know during this time of this pandemic, education is like a really huge deal. I have kids that are going to be going back to school, and me myself personally, I'm not comfortable with them going back to school until I know it's safe. So one of the things that we want to be talking about is the transition back to education. The ombudsperson referrals for case by case resources like smartphones, 5 to 12-year-olds. So I wanted to explain this a little bit more. So a lot of youth don't have access to like laptops, phones, internet services, and doing this and doing the transition back to education, what we want to do is we want to make sure that the youth have access to that in order to succeed going back into the education. 65% of foster youth had an unmet educational need during this pandemic. So I'm going to explain this a little bit further. So foster youth, a lot of foster youth have had to, like I said, had to drop out of classes, but not just classes, but schooling too. And during this time in need, I know a few foster youth that needed help with their tutoring. They needed help with their reading, with their testing, because they didn't know how to do it. So what we want to do is we're going to try to talk and have a discussion, that's we're going to be going into our next slide. And during this next slide, we're going to be answering these 3 questions, but we're going to be doing a breakout room. So if you can give us a minute, and we'll be doing that breakout room.
Yeah, for sure. And just to read out the questions, if you want to do that, Chris.
Oh yeah.
If you don't mind.
So the discussions that we're going to be doing, these questions is, what are your thoughts about returning to school? What is the recommendation that we need for returning back to school responsibly? What impact would the transition from home to school have?
Yes, and Chris and I will be in different break room sessions to support all of you. Thank you everyone for discussing those crucial questions and coming up with best practices and recommendations for the virtual town hall. But if break room session 1 with the facilitator Chris wanted to share out some suggestions, that'd be great.
So we didn't really get to the recommendations. We were just mainly discussing. We discussed about one thing that Michaela, I would like to pass it over to Michaela, because Michaela came up with a really good idea, like a really good transition and discussion, and I think that she would be able to explain it a lot better.
Thanks, Chris. Yeah, I just thought that as we have this conversation, it's really important and vital for us to be mindful of the foster care population as we create these solutions. And so CDSS has seen a drop in abuse and neglect referrals by over 50%, and at some points even more than 50%. But right now it's about 50%, so they were averaging about 10,000 referrals, and they're down to 5,000. And so with that drop, we want to be mindful of the safe space that school creates for foster youth and even youth that aren't in foster care yet, but may need that face-to-face interaction to get into safe spaces. And so with that drop, we've also seen in counties from local police departments the rise of domestic violence. So I know in Fresno County specifically, domestic violence calls have increased by 60%. And so what ways, like if we do not transition back into school, what ways are we working with police departments to engage social workers on domestic violence calls, or whatever solutions we need to make sure that when we assess the safety of kids, it's not on a Zoom camera, because their perpetrator or their abuser could be right off the camera and we can't see them. And so as we create these solutions, just being mindful of the data as we move forward in these discussions. But thanks, Chris, for giving me that space.
Thank you. That's definitely very important information for us to hear and receive. Okay, so I was part of the break room session number 2, and I would like anyone from that group summarize about what we were talking about. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we were talking about how we would sort of, or what things we thought could have been improved in the school system, like, or with COVID-19 going on. I suggested that I suggested that we get smaller classrooms and separate, like, and put spacing between them. So like now, like for example with LAUSD, where I used to go to school, they used to pack the classroom with as many students as they could. So for example, one solution was to be smaller classrooms so that you can lessen the spread of the virus. My friend Amal brought up the fact that we can have classes outside, and we also discussed what resources we would need for online schooling. And I just said we don't really need many new resources because education is still education, and we'll still gather the same information. So yeah.
Yes, for sure. And I believe it was a bit of Josh and Tashiana who talked about sanitizing. If Tashiana, you wanted to talk more about what we developed as suggestions.
Yes. So and I came up with the idea of sanitizing. So I was just thinking like for like those who are like in middle school or elementary school, like how the parents give the kids, like if they can afford it, the small travel sized hand sanitizers with like the small like the small bottle of hand sanitizer, and also like with the disinfectant wipes. Probably hope. Well, I mean, it depends on the age. I honestly recommend fourth through the lowest at least the fourth grade, because I don't like think the other ones will be ready for that. But just like the more people and children at a certain age like sanitize or like say cleans, the more people to be clean, the less the virus will spread. That was my thing.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much. Yeah, part of the disinfectant wipes is to also have them in classrooms for use. Break room session 1, did you have any more suggestions that you wanted to share?
It wasn't more of a suggestion. It was more of a discussion. I know a couple of the youth were worried about like the younger kids, not so much as the older kids, because the transition from home to school, I believe it'll be a difficult process for the younger kids, because the younger kids are so used to being at home and being around their family and their siblings, and then going from being home to going around their peers. I think it would have a little bit of impact. So I think it's just basically slowly transitioning back from home to school, not a full-on opening the school, but have like a distance learning type of situation. Like maybe they go to class maybe one day here, another day here, and then they're online for these 2 days, and then they're off one day, I guess maybe for the sanitation or for whatever reason. So that's what we were talking about, just about the awareness of the younger kids, the transitions and stuff.
Yeah, and then I wanted to add, first of all, thank you everyone for sharing your solutions, your thoughts, your recommendations. Everything is great, but I really want to bring it back to our community, right? And being in foster care, you were told the stats, you looked at the data, and you are all the experts when it comes to these issues because it's lived experience, right? So how can really think about those recommendations and put yourself in those positions. I'm a college student. Some of you, I believe, are college students as well. Dorms are closed. What about housing? A lot of us don't have access to the internet, right? So how's that going to look like? So really thinking outside of the box when it comes to developing these recommendations that are solution based, because this is new for a lot of people. Especially for foster youth, where we already face barriers, outside of COVID. So I guess I just want to ask for a bit more, like not detail, but just a bit more like recommendations around that, like in putting yourself in that position, because we're all going back to school like fairly soon.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I appreciate your motivational words, Galilea. I did want to just say something about childcare, and then all of you guys can also respond to Galilea, what she has to say. We also had another break room session, but we do have time. In terms of childcare centers, they get funded out of many different ways, and the easiest way for them to get funded is to be near a school, because if they cater to a school-age population, then they can receive federal funding from a public school that receives federal funding. it's because it's really hard to build childcare centers, and so a lot of times with childcare centers, they get directly affected with school age children if they're located near them. And so we were also discussing kind of a break room session, how that would look like with a childcare center. And an example would be like a CDC preschool with an elementary school. But yeah, returning back to Gali about developing those recommendations. If you guys can answer, that would be great.
So really, I guess like the way that I see it is like what changes would need to happen to make like, you know, my transition smoother, right? So for example, for me is maybe looking at like financial aid, like resources, because I won't be living on the housing at my school anymore. I'm gonna be having to look at other options, you know, in internet access as well, like what other resources are out there to help us, you know, have this access because we're all virtual. So just think about that as well, like what would help your transition, you know, back into education, also like thinking about others and like their housing instability. And I feel like in that way it makes it easier like for like the thoughts to flow and to really like develop something.
Yes. So I guess in terms of here, Janae, can we give them a couple minutes to respond, or should we have them respond just in the chat to Galilea?
I think if folks want to talk out loud, definitely do that. We have about 3 minutes we can give, and then after that, type it all out in the chat. The chat's here for that.
Okay, I'm just gonna read the quote that's on the slide, just as a like sort of release. So Callie Murphy, who's a CYC member, said, CYC has taught me that I have a voice and I'm a leader and I can empower others. And it's also empowered me. It's taught me that my past can help others instead of bringing me down. That's the power of California Youth Connection being a youth-led nonprofit, where we also teach youth and former foster youth and non-minor dependents and strategic sharing of storytelling. And then if we can move on to the next slide, that'd be great. So here's the little hot topic. So access to housing and related services. So the pandemic saw an increase in unemployment, homelessness, movements from group homes to adoptions or smaller shelters. AB 89 extended foster care to those who turned 21 years and older until June 2021, June 30th, 2021 of next year instead of expiring this year. AB 89 continues monthly payments, which are geared towards matching local renting costs for those in extended foster care. Schools and higher educational institutions used CARES Act to give stimulus checks to independents, expanded free meal programs during this time, online schooling services, and much more resources to help families and youth during this pandemic, specifically foster youth. California governor acknowledged April as Child Abuse Prevention Month and May as National Foster Care Month and allotted $42 million to help foster youth, resource families, foster homes, and at-risk families. At-risk defined as families who will be affected during the pandemic, which is essentially everyone, but some people more than others. $42 million went to supporting families struggling to stay together, additional social worker outreach, family resource centers, expansion of helplines, age extension for foster youth, additional support for resource families impacted by this pandemic, extended time frame for caregiver approvals and access to technology. I just wanted to add that there's something called transitional housing programs that youth can typically enter in when they're 16, depending on their cases. But we saw that with the transitional housing program in this pandemic and people being moved around and group homes, some of them requiring test and just wanting youth to be in a less populated area. There was definitely a lot of just shifting and people not being able to make out rent. So there was a lot of chaos going on, and that's why there was a lot of wait lists with transitional housing programs. They're not just shelters. They are also places where youth can get a lot of services and are cared for by the government and the governor. The CARES Act also gave stimulus checks to adults. So I just wanted to add that. Next I'll be discussing the resources questions for our discussion. Thank you. If you can scroll, that would be great. Scroll up. So this is a resources discussion. This picture says, imagine a world where young people rise up and thrive like wildflowers. Sorry. Okay. So we wanted to discuss 3 questions. 1, does your area have a lot of services for extended foster care? Extended foster care are where non-minor dependents are receiving services. So anyone who's above the age 18 or years or older and hasn't been exited in foster care and is currently in foster care is in extended foster care. It was made possible through Assembly Bill 12. And then how can we improve the way the housing budget is used for transitioning youth and adults? And then how did the pandemic affect the financial and housing stability of foster youth and former foster youth in California? Chris and I can also give you those questions in the group chat, but we'll divide you guys up into break rooms as we did last time. Welcome back, everyone. Hey, everyone. I don't know if you were waiting on me, but I was in the restroom. Yeah, so if we would have a report out, if you can go on the next slide for the screen sharing person, thank you. Yes, I can write. Or sorry, I read. Yeah, I don't know who Anna is. But yeah, we wanted to hear your guys' responses, and as you saw, or as you see right now on the slide, I typed in earlier what you guys were saying, which is safer spaces creations, mental health counseling, and welfare state programming. So increasing the welfare for people, smaller classroom sizes with spaces and areas, outdoor classes, online schooling resources, kids having travel-sized hand sanitizers, disinfectant wipes for classrooms, gradual transition. As well as that, I do hear that some people didn't like the questions because they thought they were too complex, but I just wanted to say that we all have different perspectives. We all can see the gaps in the system, and that's what we're here for. We're here to recognize those gaps and acknowledge them. And, you know, everybody has a different position. The Department of Finance doesn't do the same thing as the executive branch of government, and that's completely fine. We just want you guys to reimagine where the funds can go and how the application or the implementation would look like. So just a pure imagination, and it will become reality the more we work towards it. So break room session 1 with Chris, if you wanted to tell us what came up in the conversations. Thank you.
I know, one moment, please. I'm getting the thing. 1 moment.
Yes, for sure. While you're getting it out, did anyone in break room session 1 have anything to add?
Jesus from Fresno brought up a couple really good points. Jesus, if you want to share out what you shared with the group, you had some really valid points.
Jesus, from Fresno. I heard you had some good points to share if you wanted to do that. Okay, back to you, Chris.
Okay, so what Jesus was, I'll say what he was saying. So what Jesus was saying was that in Fresno, they have limited resources and the housing resources. And from what I was told, that it's only a experiment. And I believe we need more housing resources rather than just only, because I know certain counties have more housing options and some counties don't. So I think having a broader aspect of having more housing options rather than just one, because there are a lot of foster youth in California. And especially during this time, a lot of youth have been misplaced from their housing. And so maybe having more housing options and more resources. And another thing too, Caesar brought up a really good discussion. So if I can ask Caesar if he can explain it.
Sorry, you broke up. Can you say that one more time?
Oh, I was wondering if you were able to speak about what we talked about in our breakout room.
We talked about how what my housing looked like in the future, and I said how I figured that if I had roommates that that me and two other people were deciding to live in California as roommates, but I didn't even think about assistance until like just recently. And we realized if we all get part-time jobs while maintaining college, we can all do it. But the rent in California is so expensive that it'll be just very tight. And if the county can assist us with that, that would be a major help. And I was also talking about a sibling of mine, Anna. She's been affected through this because she lost her placement during this pandemic, and then she was sort of stuck in limbo. And my brother had to step up and take her because there wasn't a place for her to go.
Thank you for sharing that. If you guys had something that we didn't encompass on this slide because it's just one slide, please make sure to put it on the group chat. We'd love to hear what you guys have to say. In terms of break room session 2, if anyone wanted to talk about what we came up with. Thank you. Cool. In my group chat, in my group, I had Tatiana, Joshua, Derek, Natasha. If any of you guys wanted to go ahead. I saw Kenny jump in, but I wasn't there. Okay, so I guess I'll be sharing then what we discussed in the break room session. So we discussed that there's a lack of services in our area. We talked about transition housing programs and services, as well as transitional age use services, which some counties and near chapters have services and centers. We talked about those lack of services being out of reach, the accessibility of transitional housing programs, obviously with the long wait lists just being difficult to apply and just get notified throughout the process. We talked about rental applications in terms of housing help, resources for those who are kicked out of transitional housing programs or just kicked out, period, from their housing. Nonprofit housing agencies giving checks, so definitely expanding what nonprofit housing agencies can do during this time. Resources for unemployment and career services. So that includes, as well as that, like for those who are doing essential work, for higher pay raises and workers' compensation and unemployment pension. And then having access to sanitizing in facilities. And then looking for, just trusted friends. So having a system for that. So just generally, we were looking at how a lot of foster group homes and foster home placements, they're just having a lot of issues in terms of just maintaining people in one location. And so making sure with the shift, we have those connections and contacts as necessary in terms of social worker outreach as well. I can, if someone can type that in, that'd be great. Like a summary. Or should I type it in right now and then we can go over?
Well, maybe while Chris goes to the next slide, then you could type it in, because I'm looking at our time. It is 4:22.
For sure.
Executive Order and Housing Supplement Funding. $313,128,000 to helping access to technology through laptops and phones distribution. So basically we got, there's funding for foster youth who need help to access the technology for schooling, but also for other services. $3 million to family resource centers for child abuse prevention with essential supplies, food, parenting resources, and support system referrals. There's currently, I think there's currently $6 million to aid in social worker outreach for foster families at risk for COVID-19. And $1 million for foster care payments to maintain housing and food security during this pandemic. Sorry, guys.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. I'll be covering this. Okay, so I just wanted to say, I'll put the presentation, I put it earlier, unintentionally, before we could really go over most of the PowerPoint, but I'll put it here again so you guys can see what I wrote on the slide. And then we in California's Connection did a campaign called Lifetime of Stability, hashtag Lifetime of Stability, to get both Assembly Bill 89 and Senate Bill 912 signed. And I just wanted to talk a lot about that. So these bills are mainly to transitioning age youth and non-minor dependents in terms of housing, because some foster youth can be prepared for transitional housing programs when they are 16 years old. That is an example of something that would be approved for through the court. Non-minor dependents are those individuals who are in foster care past their 18th birthday, and those who exit on their 18th birthday are able to get Medi-Cal or California State Medi-Cal insurance. AB 89 funds will be available for court-appointed representatives, workers' compensation for trial court judges, supporting trial staff, court interpreters, legal services, court-appointed counselors, court improvements, adoption programs, Medi-Cal hearing costs, programs that close gaps, cash disbursement, and much more. 5% of the fund from 2019 will be made available through AB 89 until June 30th, 2025 to address and prevent homelessness. Through AB 89, 20% of the funds for child welfare and social services operating costs, 20% of the funds will be going to child welfare and social services operating costs, as well as indirect department expenses. AB 89 also allocates $10 million to increase the emergency childcare bridge program, which provides financial aid, as well as people in foster homes or group homes, if they're in a kind of the reconciliation with families type program under foster care, they may qualify for these financial aids, which are for childcare, and the childcare doesn't have a specific age. So that's $10 million for this emergency childcare program until June 30th, 2022 through AB 89. AB 89 also gives $85 million for families who qualify for CalWorks or housing instability and or low-income families that may be unemployed. So it's a government service for unemployment, as well as for those who are low income while facing unemployment. AB 89 will also give $29 million and $21,000 for expanding extended foster care. So that includes checks as well as housing. And if we can go to the next slide, that would be great. So as you read in the previous slide, we were able to get California governor to really sign this bill, Assembly Bill 89, which will give us all these services and so much more. And so we're right now trying to get him and a lot of other people to help implement Senate Bill 912. This one hasn't been signed yet, but one of the differences between the previous bill and this bill, which is a follow-up bill or like a trail bill, is this Senate Bill 912 will ensure that those who are in extended foster care and were gonna get exited because of the coronavirus pandemic will still be in foster care. So with AB 89, from the budget, we were able to expand foster care for those who turn 21 years or older on April 17th, 2020 to June 30th, 2021. Now, instead of that, this would make it for those who turn in their 21st birthday or older will be in March instead of April. So it's going to be earlier. And then it'll be for past July 1st, 2021. So this one will definitely expand expand extended foster care for much longer time, which means services, money, and just a lot of stability and housing support. Thank you. If you can scroll up, that would be great. No, like scroll, in terms of like that slide. No, next slide, slide 14. Thank you so much. Yes, that question. Chris, if you want to.
Yeah. So based on the information that we have given to you guys in this workshop, what are the best practices?
So this is kind of what we were hinting at. We know that this, Janae, I'm not quite sure what you're talking about. Are you talking about time? So we have, okay.
So I just wanted to jump in real quick and say, like, I know that this workshop, it was great, a lot of content, but I think we all understand that it's, this was kind of like the brainstorming part, right? To really dive deep into having these solution-based discussions. So what I was going to say is, if you want to continue to really dig deeper into these solution-based discussions, and then talk about it, our CYC Talks CYC Talks on Monday, please leave your email address in the group chat in the chat box, so we can send you a link to have a meeting tomorrow night if you're free. So Kate and I can be a part of that conversation with you and really help develop these recommendations.
Do we still have time to continue?
It is 4:30, so I think if we want to just do a wrap up, if we can ask folks to stay on for another minute for us to do that, or a minute or two, that'd be great.
Well, it would be a little bit more than that for.
So, Amal, we've got another workshop that's starting at 5 p.m. And so we need to give folks a little bit of a break to be able to get ready for that workshop. So we do need to wrap up pretty soon.
Okay, so if you guys can sign up for CYC Talks, which is like a presentation and open mic held on California's Connection, that'll be great. In terms of wrapping up, this is it, guys. Thank you so much for coming. If you want to stay, we can do a couple minutes. But other than that, please check in the slides through the link in the group chat. Thank you.
And Amal, I did want to reiterate Gally's statement that this doesn't have to be the end of the conversation. If you and other folks are interested in continuing the conversation tomorrow night, please drop your email in the chat, and then we can keep on continuing this conversation, because I think, Amal, you're absolutely right. We didn't get to a lot of really important information.
I'll have a couple people on here. So we just wanted to talk about supporting youth for protesting, which is having flexibility on runaway status, and then encouraging people to reach out to activists and organization, and then allowing them to use an online platform. And that'll be it, unless someone wanted to add something. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody, for coming to our workshop. I hope you guys have a great day, and see you guys in the next workshop.
Great job, everyone. Y'all killed it.
So this will be the debrief, right?
Can I just get a real quick little photo of y'all for Instagram? Give me one moment.
Jordan, what do you think?
Okay. Okay, that's fine. Just give me a minute.
Hey everybody, it was really good. Sorry I couldn't engage as much as I wished. Had some car trouble, and so I had to take care. So I was listening to it, and that's why I couldn't participate in the breakout. But what I saw was amazing, and I know these are very, very short, and I do apologize that these workshops are short. Traditionally we'll have a series of these, and I think we're seeing the pros and cons of having this virtually. But I really appreciate you all leaving the power to the members that if they want to continue this work, uplifting this, that they need to participate in CYC Talks. So you all did an amazing job. Good job, Chris. Good job, Amal. Killed it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Galilea, too.
Allie.
Yay.
Being the backbone support. Appreciate you, Gally.
Yeah.
Gally did it. I appreciate you, Gally.
Thank you.
No, it was.
You executed the vision. It flowed. I'm really glad that everything was covered in the amount of time that was allocated. So I'm really glad that you were able to get through the presentation and through the workshop in a good amount of time. So good job. You guys should be proud.
I mean, I wouldn't say everything was covered, but
the important things were covered.
Yeah, it at least left space for the important conversations to marinate.
Yeah.
Leave the workshop.
Yeah, I think we did the best we can.
Yeah, no, you all did a really great job, and Jordan said it perfectly that we're still getting to know this process and what it's going to be like. And so obviously we know that we need more than an hour and a half, but somehow we have to engage people longer. So I think that they got a huge amount of information, and they got a bunch of discussion, and that's always the best things that you want to walk away with. And you even you put the PowerPoint in the chat, so then people can go back and look at it. They have all the resources. They can see some of the other issues like the protests and everything else that the COVID-19 task force is really focused on over this time. So I think we at least left them with great information, and that really counts, because a lot of us keep that stuff, you know, and just go ahead and save it or add it to our drive so that you can use it or look back at it at a different time. So I think you all did great.
Sorry. I would say that for next time, we should probably not have 2 breakout room sessions, and we should have less questions. I would kind of describe it as more of a depression in terms of like how people were thinking. It felt like they wanted more lecturing. Just a lot of quiet, not people speaking, people asking me to repeat the questions. Which is expected. I would have preferred this more lecture. I do know that it was supposed to be a workshop, but I just definitely feel that the energy was radiated, because I didn't like that we had the breakout room sessions, like at least 2 of them. I felt like people needed more lecture, more information, before they could really collect their minds.
If I could make a suggestion, I think so. Going off of that point, I would have an opposing view. I think that the 2 breakouts were a really good addition, because it gave space for, especially because I was in Chris's breakout, and she did a really good job at like people were silent, and then just drawing people out slowly with like rephrasing the question, and opening people up that generally wouldn't speak in the main session. My suggestion would be to go along with your point, Amal, for the question confusion. So whoever's the host can actually, so once everybody's in breakout room, they can send messages to everyone. And so sometimes it's helpful to copy and paste those messages, drop them in the chat so that people can like marinate it in their own way, and then to do the rephrasing that Chris did. So if, like, you can say the same thing 18 different ways, right? So if that's really not hitting people, what other keywords can you pull out? And Chris really did an amazing job, like I said, in our breakout sessions for that. That would be my suggestion. But yeah, good job, Chris.
Yeah, I did both of that, but there was just simply I just felt like there was a disconnect, because we didn't give people enough information, and our questions were too specific. So it's just like, you're asking us questions about something that we didn't really get enough information on. I'd say next time, if we absolutely have to have 2 breakout room sessions, is to have the breakout rooms after we give out all the information, because I was just trying to like get people to talk, and they're like, well, can you tell us more about the budgeting and the implementation? And that's like, oh, that's the next slide. And it's just like, well, maybe ideally, if we should just give people that all the information before giving them, okay, this is like not should, but this is what I gathered. My observation is, I think it worked.
And sometimes, you know, the biggest thing that we always have learned in all of the curriculum development and all of kind of putting conferences on is people learn so many different ways. There are so many different learning styles that we usually don't hit every single one perfectly, but we're always trying to be thoughtful and mindful. So for those people who want the information first, boom, they got it. Those people who want the discussion, boom, they got it. The people who want the visual, amazing visual. The PowerPoint was great, right? So there's always you know, things that we can improve on, and that's exactly why we always reflect and we take a step back and we do that. And then there's things that we should just acknowledge for each other and know that we did well. And so I do have to go because I'm supporting another workshop, but before I leave, I would like to do a round of Ring My Bell, where everyone can go around and just say something positive that you took from one or another during this process of working together. And I mean, they always say the rules, like, you can't ring everybody's bell. It's supposed to be an individual bell. But, you know, I always think there's room for conversation for everything. So I like to live in the gray. But I want to ring all of your bells, because this was not easy. This was different. We were in uncharted territory. This is the first. And whenever you're doing something the first time, it's always a little bit harder than all the other times coming after. So I just want to ring all of your bells for sticking in with me and being so flexible and understanding. And when we had ups and downs, we rode those waves together. So I just appreciate you and want to ring all three of your bells. And I will